Olá, sejam muito bem-vindos a esse nosso momento de coração para coração. E hoje eu estou muito feliz em receber aqui dois convidados muito especiais que estão lá no México e vão entrar aqui agora para abrir o coração com a gente. Então, gostaria de receber aqui o Peter e a Linda.
Hey.
Hi.
Thank you.
You.
Yeah.
So good to have you here. So thank you so much for accept this invitation.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, it feels good to start hearing a little bit about you. So if you want to maybe introduce yourself and share a little bit about your journey, yeah, it feels good.
Yeah,
You can start.
sure. Well, I'm Peter. I've been with the Living Miracles community and David Hoffmeister for over 10 years. That's when I first came towards them. But it was probably around about 15 years ago that I started with the Course in Miracles in Australia. I was living in Sydney, and at the time, actually, when I started opening up with the Course, I was going to a Course in Miracles groups with Frances Zhu, who some of your listeners might know. She's also in our community. But she started a Course in Miracles group, and I attended the first one. And so from that time, we started going much deeper in the Course, and we knew we just wanted to live it in a more full way. And it was probably a year or so, or a couple of years after that group started, that I met David Hoffmeister in the A Course in Miracles community. And I didn't really have much in my life in the way of a career. I was interested in, I did graphic design things. That's what I was trained in. And but I didn't have a strong feeling to pursue a career. I just knew I liked to use my skills in purpose. And so when I met David and the Living Miracles group at the time, I just felt, wow, they're really devoting their whole lives to living this message and spreading this message and going around and connecting with mighty companions all around the world, just with this deep heartfelt connection to go deeper, this desire to go deeper. And I thought, wow, that's what I want. And I think after I began there, it was a very deep dive into living with the community and into opening up, getting in touch with deep beliefs in my mind and the buried thoughts and emotions. And so it's been quite a journey over the years. And now, we're living in Mexico. We're living in a house called Casa Quantico. And we have a few other properties in the area with other Living Miracles community members. And we just spend each day with inspiring projects and opportunities to connect with other mighty companions. So some of the things I do, I oversee the studio here for our online retreats. And also I do things with graphic design still and with the websites. And I just love connecting and, using all the projects as an opportunity to go deeper and to open up. So, there's not an emphasis on working or trying to produce anything, but it's just using everything as an opportunity to connect. And so, that's a little bit about me. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Pete. And maybe some you recognize him from the Saturdays movie workshop. Peter used to host them with David, and I'm feeling to take this opportunity to share here below the link. So many friends of us ask about this movie workshop. So right now we have in English and Spanish, but yeah, it feels good to share here the link. And you, Linda.
Well, yeah, when Peter was just sharing, I kind of just remembered that I think the deepening of my journey started when I lived in Holland, and Kirsten, some members of the Living Miracles community visited Holland. They were actually on a tour, and they had a few gatherings there. It was Ricky and Kirsten, and Jason was traveling in Holland, and Jenny and Greg were driving through Holland. So there was this whoosh of Living Miracles community members actually driving through the country. I think it was maybe 6 months or maybe a year max, but I don't think even that far into me really going with the course and reading, doing its lessons. So yeah, I was just remembering that I think for me, the real deepening started at a retreat that I actually went to in France with Kirsten and Ricky, and Jason was there too. It was a week-long retreat, and I went there, and I actually went there for like 2 weeks to be, not just to be a participant, but I immediately felt like I want to live like they live. I feel like that's why they showed up for me, because I had that prayer when I was going through the course. It was just like, this is an answer to my prayer of like, I want to live Jesus's teachings. How do I do that? And I feel, of course, the miracles came first. And then it was like, yeah, okay, but how? Like, this must be, lived. And then David showed up and the whole community. And so I feel like those 2 weeks were like a taster for me into like, yeah, how do you guys live this? Because I went to that retreat as like a participant and a support. So I was helping out in the kitchen and wherever I really could help out. So that really gave me it was only 2 weeks, but it was a very deep experience for me to really have a taste of the practical application of these teachings, and like the no private thoughts, we held expression sessions. It was like the first time in my life that I was sitting in a group of people and everybody like just put everything that was on their heart was kind of put on the altar. And we had like a healing touch session, and I remember that just transformative for me. It was really deep. Like I felt like I was like, I don't know, touched by God or something. It was like, I don't know, it was a very, very deep experience for me at that time. And yeah, I think that really set me off on this path. Like, okay, this is the direction. It felt really clear to me. And I feel after that, I just wanted like, okay, this is what I want. Now what? And then, yeah, I was guided to actually go to our Strawberry Enlightenment Retreat and Festival, Music Festival in Utah, like a year later. And that's where I met Pete and a lot of others from the community. And then I went to Mexico after that. So I just kind of took a few steps with the community, and I never really left. The Spirit had us hooked up pretty quickly after landing in Utah. But as like a symbol of my commitment, I think, of our commitment to the Spirit, like it was just a symbol being used that I already could relate to and I felt safe with. Because community living was new for me, but a relationship is something I could relate to. So yeah, I feel really grateful that the Spirit gave me that opportunity to kind of almost reflecting, I know you want to commit and I feel your commitment, and here's how you can, this is what will help you. So yeah, I've been here now for almost 5 years. I think June will be 5 years. Yeah, it's been a really deep, beautiful ride. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we can talk a little bit more about relationship I feel you guys probably have a lot to share about that. And yeah, for our friends here, I know that it's like a different way, like, and they're gonna love to hear like how was it for you and how is now, like, to really give this relationship to spirit and put like higher purpose. Yeah, I feel so inspiring. Every time I think of you two, I was like, oh, it's a perfect match. And it feels so, yeah, it feels so inspiring how, and in my mind it's not like a couple. It looks like, but it's, I know it's not. Like, I feel your deep connection and this perfection. And yeah, maybe you can share more about this.
Well, it reminds me of there was a moment when we met in Utah. You probably remember too, when we were in the tent. We were having lunch with just a lot of participants were there, and we were just having lunch. And Pete and I had met a little bit, and I felt like we both sensed, oh, okay, there's some kind of assignment here, but it wasn't really officially said anything. And we both sat at this round table together with participants around us. We weren't sitting next to each other, but we were sitting at the same table. And I remember this moment, and it was really deep. Like, something just kind of happened. I can't even explain what it was, but it was like this moment of like a very almost like a telepathic connection, or there was some kind of like click, and everybody around the table got quiet, and we got quiet, and it was like, okay, something's just happened here. I don't know what that was, but I could feel it was something. There was just something. And yeah, it's funny that you say like, yeah, it feels like such a perfect match, because I feel like probably for the last 4.5 years I've been saying the most, I don't understand why the spirit put us together. We're like, like in the world, I don't think in a worldly sense it would be like a perfect match. Like in like let's say from preferences or like old type of relationships like that I've experienced, but it is in a sense that like the spirit, I feel with Pete, the spirit gave me like the perfect healing opportunity, and to look at areas in my mind that I wouldn't have looked probably without that reflection and without Pete, because I would just want somebody to, you know, acknowledge me in ways that how I want to be acknowledged, and seen in ways how I want to, you know, it's like this whole preference package. That's where I was focused on for most of my life before, yeah, this kind of spirit given assignment, really like a relationship came in, and we both felt it. I feel really strongly when we met. It was like, yep, it's almost like it's just written. Like you can, I mean, it was just like, yes, we've said yes to this before we came, or something deep. It just felt really deep. And yeah, I think for me it was really, especially in the first year and a half, I would say I've had the most intensity coming up, probably even like, you know, not even being in my home, whatever, and but also with the relationship, that there was just a lot of mirroring. And I don't know, maybe you can even share more about, but like, I don't know, probably patterns that I've had for my whole life that were not really being like perpetuated. They couldn't be perpetuated anymore, because I got no like confirmation from Pete. There was like this true empathy mirror coming back, and I got really angry at times. Like, I got really angry. You're not listening to me. I hate your true empathy. Like, I was just saying, I hate this true empathy thing. Just empathize with me, please. And I just was sharing the other day when Peter said it's kind of like Pete's more like earth and wind, and I'm more like, no, earth and water. I'm more like fire and wind. So we're it's kind of like in that sense. I do feel like it's a good match. But yeah, I don't know. I feel it's been I would say very different, but very supportive. Like really, really supportive in many different ways. In me finding more like the strength of the spirit rather than playing weak, or those kind of patterns to play out. It's like, no, you can't change your mind right now. Like something like the other day, you were even saying, I was just expressing a little bit, and Pete looked at me and said, I really don't know what to say. Just choose again. I was like, oh, thank you. And I was out of whatever I was in within. I was like, thank you for doing that. Like, I just needed exactly that in this moment. And so I was just like gone. So, yeah. I don't know if you want to add to that. But that's been like my main experience. It's been very healing, but very nurturing too. And I've had a lot of deep gratitude come up too in the last few years. Just like, wow, this has been so helpful for me. Just this purpose of our relationship, because that's what we constantly come back to. As soon as it gets interpersonal between me and Peter, it's just like, it doesn't work. It just is not inspiring. And then as soon as we shift and say, whoa, wait a second, what's our purpose here? Oh yeah, we want to be with the Spirit. Okay, let's line up again. And then sometimes there's something in form that needs to happen, or maybe a word that needs to be exchanged. But yeah, it feels like purpose has been the thing I feel that has kind of took us all the way through up to this point. And now the focus is more on extending.
Yeah.
I feel like it's been a lot of healing and expressing and wanting to run away. And now it's like, I'm now in the joy of extending. And then even your invitation for us to come on here, it's like, oh, thank you, Holy Spirit. That's a beautiful invitation and an opportunity for us to share. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of just feels like it's been it's a collaboration. It's a daily collaboration. It's like a moment to moment, because we're probably in the room together most hours of the day. and so it's kind of interesting though. But even Linda yesterday, she looked at me, she was like, wow, I'm looking at you like I haven't seen you like in ages. This is like, wow, like it just feels totally new, totally fresh. And I think it could only be the Spirit, and purpose that can deliver that, because I kind of feel like I feel blessed in a way that, when I was trying, like when I really wanted a relationship when I was younger and I didn't have many partners, like growing up in long-term relationships, and then when I was going deeper into spirituality, I knew I had a desire, like I want to experience that, because I felt so inexperienced in relationship as well. Like, what's that all about? It's like, the Course is pointing towards this relationship with God, and I know I want that in my heart, but I can't also deny that there's something about, like having this relationship with someone else, another person here, that I feel like there's some deepening, or there's something to open up in me that I haven't explored. So I knew I really wanted to experience that. There was something still there for me, and it was kind of funny in a way, because in the earlier years, even in community, where I could see that desire would come up, but I couldn't make anything happen. It's like, sometimes I'd still want to like check out like dating apps and things like that, and like maybe I'll find a partner. But it was so funny. It felt like a joke, because I'd go onto these things, but I couldn't be dishonest. I'd say like, I like A Course in Miracles, and I'd put these things out there, and it's like, I'm not really getting many replies here, or if I did, they would just be very strange. Something wouldn't feel quite right. And so it's like, although it's like I really wanted to make something happen, it's like I couldn't. And instead, I think a lot of other just healing opportunities were coming in for me, where I had opportunities to deepen in other ways before I was even ready to take on this assignment with Linda. Like I had like leadership experiences in the community, where that was where I would usually be quite shy and held back. And I was given opportunities to, step into strength and speak what was on my mind. And that I had to do it. Like the Spirit was saying, yes, share what's on your mind. So I had lots of heart openings leading up to this assignment with Linda. And when this kind of came in, it just kind of, like Linda was saying, it felt very given by the Spirit, where I'd even seen like a picture of Linda, I think on Facebook, before I actually met her. and I had some thought, I'm going to marry her. Like it was in my mind. So Spirit was already communicating with me at that point. And I some reason I shared that thought with Jason. It's just like, yeah, I saw this photo of Linda. I had this thought, I'm going to marry her. He passed that on to David as well. And then so it was just in the mind, and somehow it was just like, it all kind of clicked together and it happened. And even when Linda was coming in to like spend time with the community, she had the thought, David.
That was when it's funny because that was when I was in France the year before I came to Utah. It was a year before I came to Utah, and I was there with Jason. And I remember I walked somewhere in that house. I walked through a door or something, and I remembered in that moment I heard in my mind, David is going to marry you. Not like I would marry David, but he was going to marry me with like okay, like what do I do with that thought? Like I don't think I shared it with Jason at the time. That would have been funny because Jason was right there with me too. But I don't know. I don't think I shared it at the time. I was just getting into expression sessions. But yeah, that was a year before I actually came. Yeah. It's kind of funny.
But like I kind of feel like now, like looking back, I sometimes have this thought, like if I could share anything, even with myself when I was younger and like had all these relationship thoughts and everything, I think the one thing I would probably share is like, go towards your heart's calling and don't hold anything back, because that's the direction where you're going to meet all the ones who are really given for you to meet and to collaborate with. So just totally dive into what your heart is truly calling for, and then don't worry about how much time or when you're going to meet certain ones. It's just going to be given by the Spirit. And so that I kind of really feel that's true now. And now being in this relationship with Linda, it's like I don't know how I could have approached relationship in any kind of old way, like even any old concept that I had of relationship, because I feel like it's so purposeful now, like even through the day, we're just constantly communicating. But it's also just like about, projects we're working on, or like thoughts that are coming into our mind, inspiration. I think I meant to connect with this person. And, we're just sharing thoughts, and we're lifting each other up through the day, just like, we're holding the space for each other, but also confirming those messages from the Spirit, like, yes, go towards that. And so I feel like it's been so supportive in that way too, just to, I don't know, for both of us to stay inspired on the journey.
Wow, yeah, it's so beautiful to hear that. And I feel like the love of God for us, like the Course says, like God knows the prayer of our heart. And sometimes when we take like deep steps to devote our life as you did to God, like the ego can bring this fear. Oh, so I will never have this relationship that I dream of, or I'll never. And yeah, Jesus knows our heart, and in that space, in that state of mind, is just like a gift. Like when, as you said, perfect moment when you're ready, when you took steps that will prepare you to this assignment. And like I love this way of looking to relationship. It's what I live with Gabriel, for example, because in the world, like I'll never choose him. And when we met, I felt the same, like, oh, there is something more here. So this feeling of it's like something higher, and at the same time, like this simple way of, it's just an assignment, it's just a project. Like it feels like a project together. It feels like a assignment. And I'm feeling to ask you, how do you share your relationship with others, like what look others, because it's like I don't know, when we think about couple relationship, we feel so close, and it's not what we live when we share like a higher purpose. So how is it for you, like, to share the relationship with the community, with the house you live, with others? How is it for you?
Well, I think what's coming to my mind is that I feel like that was something I had in the beginning a lot of trouble with. Actually, I feel like I held back still a lot of like still that idea of like this is something Pete and I should be able to handle, or I think that was in my mind. So I feel in the last few years I've had moments where I'm more intensely was sharing the private thoughts of the relationship, and really like sitting at the table here with the house, we would have like expression sessions more on a regular basis with the whole house. And so that would be an opportunity for us too to really open up and be transparent if there would be something between us seemingly, but the healing that would come up between us, to just kind of express that to everybody in the house. And there would always be one link given in the house who would be like more like the facilitator of the expression session, perhaps like a house overseer. So it would feel really safe to have a symbol that I can just tell everything, and it felt like it was held by that person, but also by everybody in the house, because everybody shares the same purpose here. So I feel like that probably makes it really safe. Like everybody here has the same purpose and has probably walked through it already, or, you know, might walk through it, like, or maybe. So it's like, yeah, it's not strange to anyone.
It's kind of like a relief. It can be feel like a relief in a way, actually, because when you're moving through really intense things in a relationship, like which was more towards the start of the relationship where real intensity was coming up between us at different times, but to not feel like you have to handle it interpersonally, and to actually feel like, and I feel like being in the group, like being in the house and being able to share those thoughts out loud with everyone, it feels more like just a symbol of spirit, and also just like symbolically, we're not doing this alone. Like we don't have to try to make this work by ourselves. Spirit's the one who's taking care of everything here. So yeah, it felt like there was like a safety in that in a way, because no matter what would happen with the relationship, it extended. It was larger than just the two of us. It was actually held by everyone. And so it kind of felt like no matter what happens between us, I know we're still held, like everyone is still held together by this presence. So yeah, that kind of felt like a safety.
And nothing is ever wrong, because I know that when I used to have a relationship and I would kind of get together with my girlfriends, you know how you can kind of, you know, get in this like unholy alliance, like, yeah, you kind of talk about the but here it's like, no, nothing is wrong. Everything that's coming up is perfect. It has to come up. This is why, this is the purpose of your relationship, to have that darkness to be flushed up so that you can move past it and you can see your brother truly. So, but even knowing that, like, I had to hear that over and over and over again these past few years, because I would forget and I would kind of fall into that trap of something's wrong. Our relationship is something's wrong. And then I would just join again with the one who's given, and they're like, nothing's wrong, you know, and they didn't even have to say it in those words. They would just listen. And it's almost like they would hear the deeper prayer underneath it. Like they could hear like, oh, maybe you're supposed to extend something and you're holding back. And like, really? Like even the singing was an answer to some of the darkness that was coming up for me. It's like, how? And then I would be asked, how's the singing going? I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of pushing that away. And it's like, oh, and there's all this intensity coming up with Pete. It's like, where's your function? Like your spirit-given functions. When I'm in that, it's like the intensity. I mean, it can still come up, but it's almost like it takes care of it. So yeah, and just by sharing that with those around us, it's like you move through it so much faster, I feel. Yeah. There's no figuring out. Like we don't have to figure out our relationship in any way.
No, I kind of feel like, you know, spirit has had so much for us both to extend in different kinds of ways. Like, you know, our function is joy, but it's like that can like take very many very specific forms. Like for Linda, it's been singing. For me, it's been different stuff with web, and also, you know, being on movie workshops and different ways to share and to shine. And yeah, just like you said, like, I mean, to try to make a relationship work is a very kind of painful kind of thing, because what are you trying to hold together? It's like, it's always going to be unstable, trying to hold people together and make them work well and be a great couple. But that hasn't been the direction. It's really been like, it's like, follow your spirit given assignments. Like, and when we're both doing that, like we're just happy. We're happy children, you know, we're laughing and it feels like we're just playing together. And it's great. And it's not really, it's not interpersonal, but the second, you know, we're not following that, it's kind of like, something's wrong. I don't feel good. Something's wrong. Is something wrong? Are you okay? Something wrong with me? You know? And so, it's
like, no, we just gotta go.
That was my next question that I was feeling to ask you, because when we share like the journey, sometimes we feel that the partner is like flying and he's more inspiring, and sometimes we are like stuck in some healing, or I don't know. And how you do that, like to keep because I don't know, but I suppose that sometimes it's not like so synchronized. So how you deal with that, like when you feel like the other one is projecting and the other one is like flying, like, maybe you can share like in a practical way how you deal with that. It's very helpful.
We were singing for the last week. We've been singing this song. And when she was up, she was up.
When she was down, she was down. Like this funny little song. But we have this funny thing where, like, sometimes we've noticed, like, when one of us is really high, the other one can go down. And not always, but it's kind of like, you know, we've kind of noticed that many times. And it kind of feels like sometimes it's been this orchestrated thing by the spirit, like nothing is going wrong. But it's just that, you know, it's like that thing in the Course, whoever is the saner of the two at the time, you know, they can hold the space. I don't know the exact words from the Course, but it's felt like that. So like, sometimes like it's just time for one of us to move through something deeper and darker. It can be whatever it is, like procrastination or feeling stuck or whatever it is. And the other one is really uplifted. And it can be inspiring too, because Linda is on calls all day long. Sometimes she has all these inspiring calls with volunteers, and she can have so much joy pouring through. Where, like, I'm sitting at another desk in the room, and it can be, you know, sometimes I just hit a stuck point, like, because, you know, like even with things like when I'm working on design projects, whatever it is, the ego can still creep in with, like, you know, thinking it knows how to do something, and I can fall down a rabbit hole of like trying to make something work and work away at something, and I start getting angry and I start getting stuck. And then Linda's in the room going, "Hey," you know, and having these uplifting calls, and it's kind of great actually, because I look over and I go like, what am I doing? She feels like that, and I feel like this. Like, what am I doing right now? And so I kind of, you know, sometimes it's kind of like, you know, the ego takes a hit, the ego starts having reactions. But it's actually like, when there's that openness in the mind of like, okay, I can see I don't like the way that I feel, it can be helpful having that contrast with each other, because, there's an example of like, I know I can be lifted high. I know that experience is available to me. And so I must be just choosing wrong in the moment, and there must be another way I can choose again for happiness.
Yeah. I feel like when Pete's really high and I go down, it's like I'm really, if the contrast is so big, it's really helpful, because I can see, okay, it's the spirit holding that now for me through Pete. And then we have moments too when we're both kind of going down. And then I feel like I now I can say, I don't really have always experienced that in the moment, but now I can see that that's just an opportunity again for us, even when we're both like, no, we have like pull up. Like we have to pull. I have to choose differently now. If it's not for me, it's for him. And if I can't, it might be just to walk out and to say, okay, I need to be with the spirit now. I have to find the spirit in my mind. Like, and so there's different ways that happens with us, either one of us or we're both, and sometimes we're both up. That's really cool when that happens. Like we meet each other like high up there. That's really fun too. And then sometimes it's like we both gotta really choose again, like, but that's just an opportunity, I think, when we both kind of like, okay.
Yeah, but we always come back. I mean, I find that, you know, like, at least we know we've both made that decision in our life that we really want to choose the spirit and we want to choose the purpose. And so, I don't know, I feel like underneath it all, we know that's where we truly meet. So we're not going to support each other in like falling apart, because it's just like, oh no, it's like, no, I know we can choose, you know, we can choose the spirit, we can choose higher than that. So I don't know, it's always like, I feel like it's just remembering we have that opportunity to choose again with each other. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's a good reminder, like to have this in front, like whatever you need to leave, we're gonna meet in this purpose, and gonna be a reminders. Yeah. And maybe you can share a little bit about the new project of the band, because Linda was like feeling inspired to sing, and then you learn like the drums in 1 week.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. Do you want to share about that?
Yeah, I'm blank.
Well,
You start out.
I mean, I can say, like, you know, we've had some great musicians in the community before. Like Eric has played like these kind of folk, kind of spiritual songs that are really, you know, just very catchy. And, you know, and Emily was a trained opera singer, and Zach was a trained pianist and a teacher, piano teacher. And so they all kind of came together at some time. It felt like an inspiration for them to just get into that heart of sharing and worship and the joy. And I thought, wow, it sounds great. And, you know, I was enjoying being in the studio at the time. I was mixing the sound and everything. And I think they just reached some point. They kind of, a thought just dropped into the mind. They're like, it'd be great if we had a drummer. And
you were looking at, you kind of shared
actually,
with me before that, like, he was just looking at drums online. He was like, you've mentioned it over the years, maybe a little bit left and right, but then suddenly you were like looking at drums online.
It was funny. We looked together, and I was like, I saw this like electronic drum kit, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. And we were checking, and even Linda got interested, and she's usually not interested in tech things I'm looking at unless the spirit's behind it. So she comes and she's looking at it too. And so, yeah, and we looked at the drums like, wow, that kit looks good in particular, that Yamaha kit. And then this was before we weren't even thinking about the band. It was just something that was happening. And then we heard, I don't know if it was from Emily. I think it was Emily. She just had a thought like, it would be great if we had a drummer in the band. And they put that out there. And we were just like, I've just been looking at drum kits. And, you know, and they're like, you can play the drum? And I was like, well, I was in a band before, but I was the singer. And sometimes I just kind of like go onto the drum kit and just mess around, but I wasn't a trained drummer. But I thought, yeah, I'll give it a shot. So we within 1 day of Emily having that prayer of like, I wish we had a drummer, we were on the road to like the city nearby, and we were picking up the drum kit, and we just had all these miracles about finding the drum kit and getting it and bringing it back. And in no time, you know, just a couple days, I was there and I was on the drum, and it just flowed through really easily. I think everybody was shocked. They're like, how are you even?
I was shocked. Oh my God, how long did Peter plays. And then I was at the monastery at the time, and Andy said, no, he just bought his first time. It's like, no way. Like,
Maybe a little bit over the years, I might have done some drumming in the air, just like, but maybe that was all the training that I had. But the spirit just flowed through,
It
and
felt like the spirit.
the
'Cause
spirit
even
just came through.
when we
Yeah.
were looking at it online, like Pete said, I'm totally not interested in looking at tech if it's not, if I don't feel like any, the spirit. But we were looking at a drum, and you looked at one, and I just said, that one. Like, it was just, and you were looking at exactly that one. I was like, I have no knowledge about drums, like that one. And then we looked online to this shop close here at Guadalajara, and it was like, that was the one they had, one left in stock. And we're like, we looked online, and then we go to, it was just all so cool. Yeah, within 24 hours, we were on our way back with the drum kit in the car. And he was, and Emily was just overjoyed. Like, she was so happy. And yeah, it felt like it's like with the spirit, it's so fast. Like, it can be so fast and effort. Like, literally, there's like nothing. Like, the way will really be, open up for you. Like, truly, it was like, wow, what a miracle. And now Pete's been extending with the drum like every week, and it's been very healing, and it's been like beautiful. Like a beautiful way for you to extend.
Yeah, it kind of came in as a shift as well, because I had a period where I was doing Q&A sessions, questions and answers, after David's movie workshop. So he would give the movie, and then afterwards, I would come on, and people would have emotions or questions and things to express. And I was there, and I was just letting the spirit come through and seeing what answer or what would come through my mouth. And that was really uplifting. That went on for about a year or so, and then there just naturally felt like that just dropped at some point. Like, okay, actually I'm not feeling to do that anymore. And the drum came in pretty much so very, very soon after. And so the spirit had a totally new way for me to extend, like musically, but it still has that feeling of like vibrant extension. And I was just sharing recently, we did a little video together, but I have such a spark now using it, because when I was doing the Q&A session, I had to be so present with whoever was sharing with me, and I just really wanted to not let Peter answer, but I really wanted the answer to, like, the words to be given. And it's the same now with the drumming, because as soon as Peter tries to do something, it feels dead and it feels old. Like, I don't want to become a good musician, actually. It's like, I don't want to be a good drummer. And that's not it. But it's like, I just really want the spirit to be with me in the moment. And I want to constantly remember that it's the spirit who's playing through me. And I want to be so present in this moment. Just let me be completely present, no matter if I mess up or whatever it is. So it feels like it's just like moved to a different form for me now. But the spirit can use everything. Like, the spirit can use, it doesn't always look like teaching. It can be like a music instrument.
Yeah. It's beautiful to watch you, and like to feel that, like, we feel our heart when you were like at the band, and it's beautiful. And there is one thing, Linda, that you shared in one of the worship service that really touched my heart, about like the singing that you shared, that you learned to put God first. Maybe you can share a little bit about that, because it was so inspiring to hear it.
Yeah, I feel like singing has always been kind of a joy for me, but I would not sing if I would think anybody could hear me. I wouldn't even have to be sure if I would even think somebody could hear me, I wouldn't sing. So I would sing a lot at home, actually, when I would be by myself, doors, window shut, and I would just let it out. And that felt really good. But I feel like there was always wanting to be seen or be heard. There was something underneath it still, like, or wanting to be good, or I don't know, something kind of more personal underneath it. And I remember when I came to community, there were a few people singing. Like Svava started singing even before I came, and then yeah, Emily. I mean, I love listening to Emily myself. Like I just, it's wonderful. Lilo, I loved listening to Lilo. So there's always been a lot of music in this community, and I was well aware of that. And I felt like there was always that desire of like, oh, I'd love to sing, but also like a lot of fear because I feel like exposed, like talking or singing or whatever. So it's always been like a mixed bag actually of it. And I don't know even how or when it came in. I guess you and I
Might have been
started
at a
singing.
retreat.
Yeah, you and I started do a little bit just for the fun, a little bit of singing, and okay, that was kind of sweet. And then yeah, I think what happened when it came in more for me, like the singing, like when the invitation was there, it's like, oh yeah, maybe an online retreat, do a song here and there, and that kind of opened me up. But yeah, with the worship services, I guess it was after I did one of the songs, No More Roads. I did that one, and then I got this reflection here of like, Linda, we want you to sing, like in these worship services, like, okay.
It was even stronger than that. It's just like you sang this one song, and a lot of people just heard it, and the spirit lit up in the mind. It's like, Linda needs to sing. I think David even said, Linda needs to sing. It was like, it came through really strong. And that really like even shocked you, like, what, really? Like,
yeah,
you know, it's like,
I had a beautiful call with Kirsten one day. She called me up and she said, listen, this is your call. This is part of your calling. It's part of you answering the calling for God. Like, and I was like, oh, I was like in tears. I don't know. It just touched me very deep because I've had that desire for a long time in my heart. But yeah, I wasn't really sure how it would come through. If it wasn't even given, like I felt like I really gave it to the Spirit every time. Like, okay, it's up to you whether I sing or not this retreat or this weekend or whatever you have me do. You know, I've been in tech in the studio for a long time, behind the mixer, actually mixing the music for those who were singing. So that's been my backdrop for a long time here, was to really give to the music. Like I had to really like be in that experience of giving. And I remember one time I was mixing when Slava was singing. It was the last time, I think one of the last times I mixed her with the singing for a live stream she did with David. And I remember having a really deep experience with it. Like, wow, it's just for me to give, like to make that sound the most beautiful I can have it sound. I don't know. It's just like, that's kind of what I felt. And then I remember Svava afterwards, she said, thank you. And I could feel like it was Jesus saying, it wasn't Svava saying thing. It was almost like, thank you. And I could feel assignment completed or something. I could feel like some complete. It's like, I don't know what that meant, but it was a different kind of thank you. So I feel like for me, it was initially to open up and give and everything for the last 4.5 years, like not just with the music, like in everything, to come into that state of mind. And I think like, well, what happened here a few months ago was, yeah, when I started, to sing a little bit more, I asked the Spirit, like, why now? Like, why now? And that's what I heard. And that's what I heard in my mind when you shared, like, yeah, you had to learn to put God first. That's just the answer I received in that moment. And I thought, wow, that makes them, yeah, thank you, because I would have misused it maybe, or in the Spirit wouldn't let me. It's like, I know this is so important for you. Let me show you how to use it, like in a helpful way, and it will never harm you. It can never harm you because you found the purpose. And I think there was like with that mixed bag of purpose, it would have probably harmed me with, comments or whatever it would be like, because it's something I wanted from the world. But now it wasn't anything I wanted from the world anymore. It's just like, you sing through me. And only recently I could actually say, Jesus, you sing through me, because I had a lot of trouble with that concept, like, Jesus sing through me? How's that going to sound? So I had to really like be in prayer about it. But now I feel like the practice is really like, I want to step back and feel like, and I literally step back, even physically, I feel now with the singing, when I remember to put that prayer out front, it's like I literally feel he has my shoulders and I can relax. And it's almost like it's just, and it's involuntary. I can't even control the key or whatever is coming out. It's like, I want you to sing through me, and I want to have an experience in that moment with you, and let that extend out. Like, however it's going to sound, let them feel you rather than Linda. Like, really? Nobody wants to, what does that do? Like, no, I want your presence to come through. And yeah, so it's a much higher purpose. And I think that's where I really found the joy in it. And yeah, which can really radiate out to everything. Really, that's what we're going for, that we feel that all the time. But that's how the singing kind of got used more recently in the last months. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And it was what you did with your relationship too, like learning to put God first, and now feeling this call to share and to expand this light and all the miracles you lived and you received doing that with the music or other projects. And I don't know, I have this question here in my mind about this new project with the band. Do you feel that I don't know, it's like it feels like the main topic here. So let's see. Do you feel that the dynamic of your relationship changes when you have like a project that you collaborate directly, or because I know you have like different functions and not always is together. Do you feel that it's different, like the dynamic of the relationship when we have like a project like the band together, or I suppose you have more projects? And I don't know, I'm just feeling to ask this.
Yeah, I wouldn't say so. For me, like, it doesn't feel different. But I kind of, the only thing that feels different, I think, is I feel like sometimes I just feel like this beautiful support that can come through in my mind when Linda is singing. It's almost like a prayer. It just feels like I just want to be so present and so supportive in mind. So that's the, I mean, we always have that together in different projects, but I think especially in those moments, because yeah, I feel like this focus comes in on Linda's voice sometimes when we're doing the music, and I feel like my mind just channels in that kind of way, and just I just want to hold the space so to let it come through. So it's a different kind of, like, yeah, maybe it kind of feels a little bit different, or like coming through that form of the singing, but I still feel like the purpose always feels the same, and it doesn't really feel different in relationship wise for me so much, but just the form looks different.
Yeah, I can feel that with Pete with the music. Like, he can come in and say, "Is that the key?" Like, he has a I don't know keys, and I know nothing about music. Like, literally, I don't know key. I don't even know what it really basics. But Pete has a really musical ear, so he comes in even like practically, like, "Is that the key? Do you want to try this?" Or when me and Zach are practicing, you might have some suggestions of what could be helpful. Or when I have doubts, one time you were standing even next to me, you were singing the key for me. He's like, "Here," and he was like standing next to me, and we're like trying to do it together. And like when it got like a bit more intense for me, so it's like, yeah, I feel like mainly it's like a lot of support actually is coming through right now, and just encouragement, like you with the drums. It's like when perfectionism comes up for you, or like, "Oh, I wanted to," it's like, "Oh, forget that. Just be in the joy of the spirit, and just you're the drummer boy. You just gotta have fun." It's like we have to remind each other what it is for. So I think that's the main thing, how it's kind of playing out for us right now in the band. Is just like, keep it high. Like, we just want to stay with the spirit. So it's almost like, I feel like that's how we're being used most of the time right now. And we've done some songs together, and even singing a song together the other time, and that felt very expansive for me sing together live. But yeah, I feel that that's kind of the main thing that I'm feeling right now with the band as in particular. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm feeling to share the links here below so you can hear this too, because it's so inspiring and heart open, and yeah, it feels so good.
Mm.
Yeah, and I'm feeling to open the space here if you feel guided to share something from your heart to close our moment here. So I don't know, anything you have here to share with our friends.
Yeah, I felt I had something. Yeah, I just, it's been really interesting. Just another thing came to my mind of the timing that Spirit brought us together to face different things in our mind. But one of them was family. Both Linda and I had a lot of family things happen in the past years that we've been together since we met. Both of our fathers have passed away, and we weren't in the same country as our father when they passed away. But there's been like a lot of like communication and a lot of healing and a lot of deep emotions and different deep things that have been coming up. When my father was ill, I did book a ticket to Australia to go back. It'd been a while since I'd been to Australia, but then COVID came in, and I had this ticket, and I couldn't even get into Australia, and so I couldn't even use the ticket. But now it's like, after all this time, this window has now kind of like this window has opened up again to actually go to Australia. Linda and I are going to be going to Australia in May, a little bit later in May, and we're going to be there into June. And so we'll be there for about 3.5 weeks. But that kind of feels like it's a new experience too, because I had said too, like, even if I go back to Australia, I haven't been there since 2017. And so it's been some time since I've seen family and been there. But again, I just had the feeling I really want it to feel purposeful, and I want it to feel uplifting. And I've just been kind of waiting for Spirit to provide the timing. And then Francis felt like had a prompt to go to Australia, and I felt lit up as well, and Linda felt it too. So I think Spirit brought in the timing again. So yeah, I think I just kind of wanted to mention, I don't know, I think it's been, I think it's just been beautiful the way Spirit has orchestrated everything. Like, it's like nothing is left out, and it's like, I think there's can often be a fear of that on the spiritual journey, that there's a sacrifice, that there's going to be something that I'll have to sacrifice. But it hasn't been my experience, actually. I kind of feel like everything is given, and everything is given in the perfect timing as well. Even if you can't recognize it in the moment, you do come to recognize that everything was given in the perfect timing. And so, yeah, I think I just wanted to share that. And I know too that, Linda and I mean, we're just starting to now pray into this Australia trip together, and who we might meet when we're there, and, how we're going to touch different lives and be touched ourselves. So yeah, that was in my heart.
Yeah, it feels beautiful, because it's like I feel like I had to really learn to step back and let him lead the way in the most practical sense. I could say I was pretty arrogant and stubborn and know it better kind of girl, and it's still being washed. I know, and something, but actually it's like, wow, the washing of like years and years and years of mind training, and being with those who have been devoted to this for so long, like, and to watch them and to interact with them and to hear their experiences, like we listened to David and Francis, it's been really helpful. But it's been really beautiful. An example is that trip that's coming up, because it's something I think when I just landed in community, I said, I want to travel. And I was like, yeah, okay. I was like, okay, Linda, no, you're not traveling. And like, okay. And I fought, and like I was fighting that for quite a while. I've had a lot of intensity coming up in my, I want to travel. And I remember Jason said at the time, it might take you 5 years before Spirit sends you out. You just have to be patient. And it's actually going to be 5 years. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, Jason. It's like, so but you know what? I feel like I'm just appreciated so much more now than I would have 5 years ago. I would have just had all this pride about it. And whatever was underneath, like, why did I want to travel? I don't know. Like, it was like no Spirit given reason. But now it's like, I didn't even put it out. Actually, I didn't even tell you. You said something about maybe Linda and I could come also to, I'm going to Australia. I didn't do anything. And it's like, oh, now it's just going to be a trip to extend and to visit your family and just to be together, have holy encounters, support Francis with one of the retreats there, and meet mighty companions there that you haven't seen for a long time, because nobody's gone to Australia for a long time. So I don't know. I just feel like, whatever the ego says about sacrifice, it's like, in the end, we all get to experience that's not true. Like, it might feel like that in the moment. I felt that a lot in the moment, but now it's just like, wow, Spirit's plan is so much better than mine. Like, and he brings me the relationships that are truly helpful for my healing that I would have never accepted, maybe even out of unworthiness. I wouldn't even say yes to it if it wasn't be given by the Spirit. And now it feels like, just a lot of gratitude, I feel, actually. So just taking it step by step. It's like a miracle journey.
It is. And I'm so grateful for you to really to showing us the way and taking these steps. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paulina.
Yeah, thanks, Paulina. This is such a precious opportunity, even to be invited to share, because, we love it just to, strengthen the miracles in our own mind as well. It's beautiful to be able to share. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for offering this.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's gonna bless our friends here and really inspire to get to know these stories and really see that there is a different way to live and without sacrifice, only following the miracles.
Thank you.
Thanks, love.
I love
you. It's beautiful, Paulina. It's just this, what you're doing, and I don't know, your devotion is just really beautiful. Thank you. It's always a joy joining with you. It's always fun. Fun and deep.
And thank you for joining us, and we see you next time.